This fan base is amazing. The city of Cincinnati is amazing, and I wouldn't want to be anywhere else.
Desmond fakes a handoff, runs to the right. He's got all sorts of room to the 30, 25, 20, 15, 10, 5, touchdown! Bearcats! 20, 25, toward the middle of the field at the 35, and he is gone! Trey Tucker will take it 98 yards to the house. A nip at night knockout as the Bearcats send a message to the college football world. Did you see that?
Hello, listeners, new and old. Welcome back to your favorite Bearcats podcast, Viva La Cats. I am your host, Justin Hiles, accompanied by my great friend, Steve Maurer, and we are here to bring you the very best of the Bearcats once or twice a week in our standard weekly previews, sometimes in our Twitter spaces. We would also like to mention that we are proudly presented by the 1012 Network. Again, this is still new for us, so we are happy to be on board with them, as well partnered with Sports Drink. With the easy stuff out of the way, we can immediately start talking about the hard stuff, which is basketball, and it is not fun right now, people. For those of you who were paying attention last night, it was not pretty. It was not pretty at all. And this situation that the Bearcats have got themselves into, where now we're debating about how we fail to succeed in the AAC, just becomes more and more pressure to figure out how in the hell we could possibly succeed in the Big 12. Steve, catch us up to speed with what happened, because ugly.
Yeah, so the Bearcats decided to say nope to winning a game that they were up by 16 with 9 minutes left, and decided to lose another bad game on the road. For whatever reason, we cannot win road games. Wes Miller is 1-6 in February and March on the road in his UC tenure. Not great. And also, and that one win came against, it was his first February or March road game against USF last year. Lost the last 6, and he's lost the last 2 in not so great fashion. And I mean, I at some point, it can't just be a critique of the coach. It has to be a critique of the players as well. And I don't want to be too harsh, but it just, man, like you got to find a way to close that game out. I understand that, you haven't had Victor Locken for the past 2 games, but you're up by 16, man, to a team that's not very good. You got to find a way to beat them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I want to go into exactly how this game kind of went, because it's not unfamiliar. It really is not unfamiliar. The way this game went, the Bearcats were able to kind of keep their lead and keep building on it. And it's sort of this, I love looking at game flow charts. It's my favorite thing. And I love when they look great and then they fall apart at the end, because this is what happens all the time. They do this. It's the great crevasse, and it comes right back to a point, and the Bearcats drop and our enemies succeed. And it's just happened so many times. And again, this sucks because the whole game, the Bearcats were really in control. There was a little bit of a back and forth towards the middle end of the first half. And then it felt like, all right, Bearcats took control, no issue. Then you get to the 7-minute, 26-second mark left in the second half. Bearcats are up 67-54. Feels pretty good. Until the Bearcats then do not score again until the 2-minute and 49-minute mark. That is 5 minutes of zero offense, of absolute flat offense. And all the meanwhile, ECU went on a complete tear and was able to bring it all the way back. It's a shot-for-shot game at the end. And then again, Bearcats fall flat in the final minute and a half. And we've seen this time and time again. I feel like a broken record this season. I felt like a broken record last year. It's the same shit every single time. And it always comes down to a game plan that does not seem to exist. I don't know what other way to say it other than we completely fall apart at the end every time. That is not a player problem. I don't care if you've got your go get a bucket guy or you don't. Somebody is able to make a shot on the floor, and yet no one does. And call me crazy, but that's a coaching issue. That is a coaching preparedness game plan issue, and it's forcing shots at the end when you don't need to. And also, I will say too, to the other side of it, a lot of clean looks at the end. Nothing went in. Steve, console me.
So I'm just pulling up the game book on the website, and I two things immediately stick out to me. I'm an analyst for real work, so this is kind of just what I do. So, but 3-point
He's a pro.
shooting by half. Everybody, Cincinnati first half 3-point shooting 5 for 9, pretty good. Jeremiah Davenport, I think, hit all 5 of his threes in the first half. Maybe 1 in the second half. I'm not exactly sure. Second half, 3-point shooting, 2 for 12. ECU, 3-point shooting, first half, 1 for 10. 3-point shooting in the second half, 5 for 10 for ECU. And then he also went 17 for 29 in field goals overall in the second half, compared to 11 of 36 in the first half, for 30% in the first half, 59% in the second half. So, and they went 7 for 15 for the free throw line. Like, this could have been a lot worse. And like, Justin, they beat us 46-27 on the boards. They beat us 19-4 on offensive rebounding. It's just like, this is just like ECU probably should have won the game pretty handily. Like, I look at this score sheet, and I think the game score would have been like more in ECU's favor. And like, they just didn't hit. The Bearcats had the make shots offense going in the first half, and then it went away in the second half.
Yeah.
To be frank, but
To put it lightly.
but there should be no excuses for this first half. Like, I'm sorry, there should be no excuses for this losing a game to East Carolina. And I've been thinking about this, Justin. I did want to bring this to the pod. Like, this in the American, UC is kind of playing against itself. And what I mean is, it's playing against its previous teams that had gone through. Basically, this conference has not been much better over its entire existence. It's always been kind of meh. Maybe a couple up years when Houston has been better and we were good. Maybe a couple up years when Memphis was better, but maybe a couple up years when Temple was up there. But it's never been a top 5 conference in the net. And I have to do more research on that, but it's always been a pretty lousy conference. And I think we're just playing against that same gamut as we played every year. And, like, it's not as, we just weren't, we've been playing against the ghosts of ourselves, and seeing us lose games that we have traditionally not lost in this conference, at Tulane, at Temple. Well, Temple is a whole nother thing, but at East Carolina. I mean, what's another bad loss, Justin? Like, we haven't beat Houston in 7 straight games. I mean, that's different. They're actually like a top 5 team, But it might be 8 now. I really don't want to know. But it's that, obviously the program is not where anybody wants it to be. But I think why people are getting so upset is, obviously, they do believe that the team is more talented than losing like road games like this, especially the way we're losing them, where we have big leads in the second half and then they just kind of evaporate. And also, I think it's that, we have this idea of how this team is supposed to look against a pretty bad conference. And I think just being held to that standard of ourselves and our past selves is kind of like, hurting the entire mindset. And I wrote some things while I was in the heat of the losing moment last night, and about, does West have any apologists left? And like, is this a bad mark for him? And will people come back to this? West is not going to get fired. I saw some of like the extremes on Twitter last night saying that West should be fired. But Justin, he's not going to get fired. They just gave him an extension. Maybe we could have a conversation that, was that extension warranted just yet? I mean, that could be a conversation for the off season, maybe not right now, but I will end this with this, Justin. We are playing against our past selves, I think. Next year is going to be great for us because we get to play actually against other great programs not named Houston. You only have 2 bellwether marks every year. You can't really everything else is kind of a disappointment to our fan base when we've been really successful in this league in the past. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is the case. I think this is a thing that we keep coming back to time and again, is the statement of this is not Cincinnati basketball. And I think it's going to suck it sucks to say it out loud, but this is the shit that happens. You just have to accept it. It's not accepting that Cincinnati basketball should suck. We're never going to be at that mark. Cincinnati basketball should always be good, should always be great. But I think people have been so used to winning for so long and have been used to succeeding for so long that when you get to this point, when you have, I'm you know what, before I finish that statement, I'm going to take a hard tangent and we'll come right back, because I actually have been in the process of writing this article that I'm going to release at some point soon. But this goes fully into depth about just a few words, how John Brandon fucked Cincinnati. That is it. Because I don't think that people understand how much of a step back this program took in such a short amount of time. Wes Miller, as much as all of the losses could really realistically be blamed on him, I don't think it's the case. I don't think you can really blame everything on Wes. I don't think you can really blame everything on the players. It's difficult to say exactly why that is the case, other than the fact that this reset that we've been at, I want you to think of where we were in 2018, okay? 2018-19. Mick walking out the door. You lose to Iowa in Columbus, feels like it should have been a home game. It was great. I was there. I was like, this is it. This is going to be great. We're going to go into this, second game. We're going to go to the Sweet 16. We're going to make the second weekend. Didn't happen. More excuses from Mick. People are pissed off. People are over Mick. They're over the excuses, over all of that. Mick walks out the door, takes a deal you cannot refuse. All of this comes to the point of now you hire John Brandon. You're going to have a little bit of roster turnover. Okay. That makes sense. Think about this. I want you guys to stew on this real hard. I said this last night in the Twitter space that we did with Cincy Slangin'. The Bearcats, when it comes to recruiting classes, have been absolutely eviscerated. Since 2016, 5. Count them. 5. Let that number stick in your head. 5 out of 21 players in 6 separate consecutive classes have stayed with the Bearcats to the end of their career. And that number could still get smaller if JD and Micah don't stay till the end of next year. 5 players. It could go down to 3 out of 21. This is the course for a complete factory reset of a program that is used to winning. And it doesn't matter with what amount of talent you have, doesn't matter what amount of coaching you have. It is very hard to win when your complete identity takes a 360, then a 720, then a 1080. It's just constantly spinning, and it's trying to find the tracks somewhere to get the train back on. And where we're at right now, this is all very exaggerated, but like where we're at right now, this program is still in a place that is still bleeding. This is not, we're still trying to find our way back. And it's not even we should be at a level that we compete. I firmly believe, especially after looking into all of this stuff that I looked into recently, we are exactly where we're supposed to be. And that should be okay right now. It sounds crazy. It sounds crazy. And I know it's probably going to piss people off. But when you really realistically think about how much of a just gut punch this program took over the course of 5 years, you can expect this team to be ready to compete at the highest level in the AAC, much less than to compete in the Big 12. And I think everybody, like you said, going back to your point, wants to compare to the past, wants to compare to the winningest point, the point that we all remember, where it felt like the world stopped when Trey Scott hit that tip in shot with like 2 seconds left against Temple at the end of the season in 2019, 2020 season, when we were going into COVID. Right when that happened, everything shut down. That was the top of the point. Everybody was elated, and we held on to that for so long. Hard nosedive, kamikaze, crash into the ground after that. That is exactly where we've been. And when you lose as many players, you have the roster turnover, and then you have a new coaching system. You have guys that have to adapt. You have guys that leave. You cannot be in a position to compete properly. And if you want to keep comparing to the past, you have to learn to let that go, because all of the guys on this team, almost all of them, are still very new. You have JD, Micah, and DDJ. That's the core of your team. These guys have been around for a while. And I think that's a lot of point of contention, is that those guys that have been around for a while should be the ones who are setting this team up for success. That's a different conversation altogether. I'm almost out of breath, but like,
I
again,
just want to say, Justin, I just want to say you disagreed with me on this very same point like 3 weeks ago when we debated this. Is it coaching or is it talent? I said we don't have any talent. You said, no, it's coaching. I'm just glad you came over to my side. I'm just glad you finally agreed with me in this argument. It is
50-50. It is 50-50 because I know you want to take your win, and I will give you half of your win. But here's where I'm saying there is a point. Here's where I'm saying there's a point where it's also not just talent as well. Of course, coaching is a whole other thing. What I'm saying is, on top of the talent, the talent disparity, the coaching disparity, where we're trying to figure stuff out. I think Wes is just playing things as he goes along. He's figuring out a lot playing at this high of a level because he hasn't been used to that. He coached UNCG for so long. You step up, it's another step up, and now you're going to the Big 12. It's going to be even harder. What I'm saying is, aside from all of those things that we can control, there are also a lot of outside factors that we have been completely out of control of. And that comes with Wes coming in the door. That comes with John Brandon leaving. That comes with Mick leaving. That comes with John Brandon coming in the door when he did. So many guys have gone in and out of here like a revolving door that this program has not really been able to just set its foot down in one spot and say, we can hang our hat here. It's been impossible. And so again, I think partially that comes down to the talent thing, but I also don't, I think as much as people want to say, okay, talent, I think it's less about talent. I think it's about consistency. That's where I think we lack the most. Talent, you can argue all day long, because if a guy can go, if you're talking about a guy who just goes out and shoots the ball, you want to talk about that pure skill, that's the talent conversation. When you're talking about guys who know how to play together, who know how to play to a system that a coach set up, you cannot do that when you have 3 coaches in 4 years. You cannot do that when you have 5 out of 21 players sticking around in your program over the course of 6 seasons. It doesn't happen. Jaron Cumberland, I want you to think about this. Jaron Cumberland, mouth is drying up. Sorry. Jaron Cumberland, there we go. Jaron Cumberland is the last player to have been recruited, start, and finish his career with the Bearcats. Last player. It feels like that was a long time ago now. And when you look at this now, you have DDJ, still a transfer, Micah, Davenport. Those 2 are the 2 closest that you're going to have. And aside from that, you have Victor Locken. It's really Victor Locken. It's those 4. DDJ, Victor Locken, Micah Adams Woods, and JD. And one of them's a transfer. And then the other one, Jaron Cumberland, graduated. So how do you find footing there? How do you find that consistency? How do you find an identity when there's nothing to write home to mom about? It's hard. It's really hard, and you can't compare to the past. I talked for like 10 minutes. I'm really sorry. I've been way too deep on this writing, and it's this is a very tough conversation for this program because this is not where we want to be. But
no, I mean, I
reality is
agree with you. I completely agree with you. I just think like there still can be an expectation of we should win games against teams we're better at, you know? And like I think that's a completely fair expectation. That comes down to the coach, like knowing when to put in like the close the game offense or run down the shot clock, get some shots inside, try to not just jack up 43s a game. Like these are all things that should be come down to coaching and game plan. And how many times has Wes Miller kind of looked overmatched in a game? And that team last night that UC lost to, they beat by 28 at home. That like the team that they beat, you know, Tulane, they beat them by 11 at home. We know that we're better than these teams, Justin. We've seen it. And like, you know, it's not like it was a shot at the buzzer or a couple late shots. And that's why I'm worried about UCF coming up on Sunday, is because it was we almost did the same thing as we did these road games. We were up big, and then we let UCF chip away right until the end, and then we won by a couple of extra possessions. But I think it's been endemic of this team all year that they have not closed games or not figured out a way to close games. And well, okay, I'll give you a couple things, and then we can talk about UCF a little bit because I do want to bring up something about them. You know, so there's no true big man on the roster right now without Victor Locken. And, you know, Victor Locken has definitely developed this year. You can give a credit to that for Wes Miller for being able to, his staff being able to develop Vic into a guy that the Bearcats are sorely missing right now. But there's also the thought that, you know, why is there not another better guy right now on this team than Jarrett Hensley and Kalu Ezikpe? And Odie has definitely played well. Like I put in the notes, he had his first 2 double-digit games of the season in the wins against USF and the win against USF and the loss against Tulane. And, you know, that's also a testament to coaching. Like when Vic got hurt, they were able to say, okay, let's get Odie the ball, and he was able to shine. You know, he definitely has gotten better on that. But it's also the fact that we didn't recruit somebody who was able to play in that. Maybe that's due to the AAC, but you should be able to recruit above your league when you're Cincinnati. It's this program. And I understand, like I'm resting on the laurels of our history again, when I've been yelling at other fans for saying, no, we're not that team right now. We're not very good. I think it's all just very frustrating. 2, I don't think Wes Miller has really like 100% unity. We're all behind him, obviously, right now. He still does not have that one trademark big time win that people can all look to and say, okay, that was the turning point. That was where, you know, we really just like took off from there. It's just a lot of like these just bad losses right at the end of the game. I think people would be more accepting if we got blown out, you know, than just like losing like right at the end. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
all the Houston game also, I mean, Houston is a much better team than us, but you were up by 13 in the second half of that game, and you let that lead slip too. Something about these guys on the road. And obviously I agree with you, Justin, building a culture, big part of that, big part of having, you know, the trust in your guys to go out and win games. That was why Mick Cronin was so successful usually in those big time road games or just big atmospheres, is that he had built out that culture just for years on end. But and it's, you know, it's obviously some growing pains right now. And I think it'll be good for UC to obviously get to the Big 12 next year, get beat up a couple times, and for us to say, okay, you know, we're not just playing against the doldrums anymore. We're playing against real teams now. And it's, you know, we really got to step up our game. And I think the staff knows that. And I'm really interested to see what goes on with the roster at the end of the season. I don't know if I still think, Justin, at the end of the day, winning just one more regular season game makes this season a success, because this is where they were last year, 17-13 to 17-14 to end the regular season. They need to win one more regular season game for me to consider this season a success. And maybe 2 more games, like just to consider it fully a
Maybe
success.
all of
But
them.
I mean, I'm not asking for much. Just win the
Yeah.
national championship. It's really not that. I saw a guy in the Cincy Slang in Discord last night say that Wes Miller has an NCAA championship ceiling, and I'm like, you sure about that? I mean, I don't think so. Like maybe I don't know. We'll see. He can definitely recruit. He can definitely bring in guys. I just think it's just we got to see some more progression on like the kind of offense he likes to run, and what kind of defense can we run to stop these late game collapses from happening. So real quick about UCF, we did just go on the Sons of UCF live show, and that will be up on wherever you get your podcasts. So they are also part of the 1012 network. Go check them out. We had a good conversation with them. It was a good back and forth, a little ribbing here and there. I do think they want to be rivals with us, Justin. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. I mean, I think this is it's an interesting point in time to be able to take UCF along with us. And I say that as, all right, we're in the driver's seat and you guys can just hop in the back, but it is a thing where we're all coming together in this scenario, and we're going to have to figure out our place, and hopefully our place in the new conference just ends up being above UCF. And I'm
Pretty
really
low bar.
hoping that is the case. Yeah, it's a low bar, but it is a bar nonetheless. Speaking specifically on UCF, they bounced back to win 2 consecutive games after losing 5 straight, and they're still rated higher in net and KenPom. This is one of those things too, where I talked about this sometime last week in just what the home stretch of our final 6 games was going to look like. And if I remember correctly, UCF is still a quad 1 win if you can manage to pull that off. It might be a quad 2, but I think it's quad 1 because it's road 75 and less. So It's a quad 1 win. You have the opportunity to do it. You've proven that you're able to beat UCF. You've proven that you're able to figure them out. Can you close? It is the hardest thing to talk about when you consistently fail to do so. But I think out of a lot of these games, you're coming fresh off a handful of losses here that you just were not expecting to have with Tulane, with ECU. Like you want to have that, again, that hang your hat on type of game. Personally, I think there's a really big opportunity here, because even though it's not a glamour win by any means, UCF is not bad. They are a good team right now. They are better than we are right now. UCF is doing about the same, a little bit better than we are. Their record, of course, they're 6-6 versus our 8-6, but they are ranked higher. And I do believe truly that with what we saw is that they're a more well-rounded team, and they've got things figured out a little bit better. They just weren't able to pull it off at the end, because look at what we've talked about all season long. I think they've got something gelled a little bit better than we do personally. Maybe I'm wrong in that. And it is what it is, but I think UCF is just in a better position right now, looking forward, considering how, young their team is and considering what their expectations are versus ours and where we want to be. We'll see what happens. They are playing Memphis live right now. So if they can manage to beat Memphis, that would be a huge, huge win for them. That would only help us out even more. And I mean, it's not going to help us out when we play Memphis, but I'm sure Memphis is not going to change all that much. And they will still too be a quad 1 win as well, if the Bearcats can manage to pull it off. So I don't know. I mean, I think this is, like I said, is another good opportunity for the Bearcats to just kind of get something at the end of this season. It's like, all right, you can't get Houston. It's not going to happen. You might not get Memphis. It's not going to happen. Get the other toughest team, because you faltered against your other chances to have some pretty decent wins. And I would like to say too, that if for perspective, if ECU, if that were to be at home, that would have been a quad 4 loss. Granted, it's on the road, but it's a quad 3 loss, which doesn't feel much better. The
Memphis
only other
currently
thing,
leading that game 6-0 as we
yes.
record in Bluff City.
The only other thing I want to mention, and this is a 2-second tie back to what we were talking about before, and I'm done with this. There's two sides of this coin. Every single week when we talk about the Bearcats and where they're at, we're talking on the micro level. A lot of what I'm talking about in this sort of revolving door program and trying to figure stuff out, that's a very macro level, and not even like, season long level. It's talking, you're going back to before, you're going back to like 2016, 2015. Like, that is looking at this whole picture where the Bearcats should be with everything that's happened. Okay, it sucks when you lose a game to Tulane. It sucks when you lose a game to ECU on the road. Like, you don't want that to happen. But when you can kind of back the lens out a little bit and say, okay, maybe don't look at that game as much, but look at the game, look at the season as a whole, then look at the couple seasons as a whole. I think we're still in line with the timeline, personally. It doesn't feel good, but we're still in line with the timeline. And I think it only proves that we're going to move forward, hopefully. But the Big 12 is probably going to kick us in balls, and it's going to hurt.
Let's not think about that. Let's move on.
Let's not think about that. Last thing we want to cover here, while we're still on, I guess it's football too. It's probably more football than it is basketball. But Big 12 invite tournament. This is something that I started this week, and I wanted to have a little bit of check-in because we are now in the final round. I set this up as a leftovers of the Pac-12, and I think we could talk on this for a minute too, just because the Pac-12 is in a very, they're in dire straits. It's not looking too good. And I think they're definitely trying to convince themselves, probably more than other people, but convince themselves that they are not bleeding out right now. And they think they're okay. And it's kind of sad to watch, honestly. But anyways, I put together a Big 12 invite bracket. I was just curious, wanted to see, of all the teams that you could bring to the Big 12 from the Pac-12, if you can only take one and you can only save them from the Titanic as it sinks in the water, which one would it be? And we've managed to cut out every single team now and narrowed it down to Arizona. There you go, Steve, and Oregon. So we're in our final two. Colorado and Arizona State didn't really stand too much of a chance here in the final round. So, or in the semifinal round. So now we're down to Oregon and Arizona. I have a feeling I know where that's going, but I don't know. Maybe we can hold on for the Arizona boys here.
Bear down, baby. Go Cats. Just wanted to mention this real quick. I did listen to the subscriber level edition of the Split Zone Duo Patreon today. Shout out to them. They did mention that, Colorado would likely not come back to the Big 12 just because they still believe in the academic stuff. But it's more likely, maybe not more. More is not the best word, but there is a better chance that Arizona State decide to drop the whole academic thing and just try to choose the best sports league. So again, selfishly, I would love to see them both in the Big 12 because I'd like to sleep in my own bed and watch a Bearcats game in person, but that's another day's conversation. So go Cats, win, bear down, whatever you say, beat the Ducks. I would love to see Arizona. I actually just did visit the McHale Center recently. Great basketball arena, great basketball environment. Would love to see the Bearcats play a game there. Arizona recently beat Oregon in basketball, and that Tubelis dude who went off against us scored 40 against Oregon. So hold your hat up, Cats. We didn't give up 40 against him.
Yeah. I mean, it probably wasn't much better when they're scoring 100 in a game, but that's whatever. Conversation for another day.
Do you love the Big 12 Conference? Do you love college basketball? Well, if you're listening to this podcast, you probably do. So come on over to the Midwest Madness podcast, powered by the 1012 Network, where I, Robbie Triano of SiriusXM, talk all things men's basketball in the Big 12 Conference. Whether it's breaking down the biggest games, interviews with some of the best people covering the league, or discussing which teams will make the big dance, make the Midwest Madness podcast your bi-weekly listen, because the best way to prepare for March Madness is to listen to the Midwest Madness.
Brief intermission there, but we're back. We're going to talk real quick about the Big 12's football preseason rankings per ESPN's SP Plus. Steve, give it to me.
Real quick, we are going to go start at the top of this rare 14-team league. It'll only be one season only. So we'll start at the top. Texas, number 1 in the league, number 9 overall. 2, Oklahoma, number 14 overall. Number 3, TCU. The national runner-ups are number 19 overall. 4, K-State, number 22 overall. 5, Oklahoma State, number 34 overall. 6, Texas Tech, number 36 overall. 7, Baylor, number 38 overall. 8, UCF, number 39 overall. And your Cincinnati Bearcats, number 9 in the conference and number 43 overall. Real quick, 10, Iowa State, number 45. 11, West Virginia, number 50. 12, Houston, number 51. 13, Kansas, number 57. And 14, BYU at number 62. So that is a conference that has all of its teams in the top half. No more, Justin, will we play a team that is in the 120s in the SP Plus. It's a step up, baby.
Miami.
Well, in
Yeah,
conference. Sorry.
Yeah, of course.
Miami's just basically like a bye game for us now, and I love it.
Yeah,
keep playing it.
Yeah, we'll take the cupcakes now that we can have them. We're gonna need it.
That's right.
Regardless, though, talking on this whole rundown, I'm really curious to know what your surprises are there, because I think I had a couple. I would say the biggest one to me would probably be, I would think, Texas Tech. I'm honestly a little surprised they're up so high. I mean, of course, a lot of these other teams down here in the latter half didn't really succeed. I would say Texas Tech kind of caught me off guard, but also Kansas. Kansas being all the way down at 13th out of 14. They had a rough end of their season with the loss of their quarterback, but damn.
Yeah.
13th out of 14 with how Kansas played last year. I don't buy it personally.
So SP Plus does do a lot on talent and, recruiting rankings and returning roster. And it is crazy to me that Texas and OU are still at the top. And I follow an Oklahoma fan now who made a good point that Texas and OU recruited all of the 5 stars that the Big 12 got in this last recruiting cycle, which is kind of crazy. Maybe not good for the future of the league and its relevance in football, but still kind of crazy that OU was was pretty talented last year and is going to be this talented this year and went 6-7 last year. And I don't believe in Texas at all because they always do this. They always get hyped up in the preseason and then they never meet the expectations. But it is very funny to see them get hyped up again, and just the hype machine. I'm just going to laugh at it this year. I'm not going to get upset about it because usually I'm upset that Texas is taking where the Bearcats might be, but I'm just going to laugh at the hype machine this year. I think as a Big 12 member now, we are allowed to do that.
Yeah, I personally would say too that Texas, this is a very bold statement as a team that has routinely played in the AAC. Objective point of view, Texas sucks. Like there's nothing. Horns down, baby. Horns down. There is nothing about this program that has said down. With all of the available talent, with all the available resources that are there, how have they managed to not be the team once since 2009? This team is like, They should be at the level that people talk about Ohio State and Alabama and Georgia and all these other I guess they're more red bloods in the football world. But
it's a good point. Yeah,
how are they not up there? Yeah, it's blue in basketball, red in football, and something else in other sports. It's a rainbow in baseball, I guess. But I don't understand it. I really don't get how this team has so much available resources and manages to falter so often. I don't get it.
I do. And just the amount of fans they have as well. They are the Dallas Cowboys of college football, which is kind of funny. It's kind of funny to think about,
Such a good comparison.
I mean, they've won a championship more recently than the Cowboys have, at least. So, hey-o.
That's true. Hey-o. Cowboys suck too.
Yeah.
You'll never be good.
I'm also very interested in West Virginia still being a top 50 team and being so close to UC despite all of their fans being completely off the Neil Brown train and wanting him to be fired. So that might be an interesting Week 11 game. Once we get down to it.
Yeah, I mean, I think personally, I think this is gonna. I hope it's not the case, but my mind's eye says that this is gonna be the battle of like the 7 and 5 teams, the 6 and 6 kind of team.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it's a 12-game season. It's going to be the 6 and 5 and this 7 and 4 teams. It's going to be the closer to 500 battle. I hope that it's not. I hope the Bearcats are up there. And as much as I think we still have some animosity somewhere deep down there for West Virginia, I would hope for our sake in a rivalry game at the end of the year that it's closer. Hell, it's actually they're not even Week 12 for us. They're game
Week
11. Yeah,
Yep.
I keep forgetting that. I'm
Damn Big
placing
12
them
rivalry week.
Kansas. Come on, man. So the Big 12 needs to believe in rivalry week because it's just dumb. Like,
Yep.
I don't want to play
agree.
Miami in rivalry week, but I would much rather play West Virginia or UCF at the end of the season than play Kansas.
Well, if you believe in never mind. I won't go there. I was going to make a point about Thanksgiving weekend crowds and usually where our students are, but they were good this year. Like a lot of them were at the Tulane game. Tulane game was pretty full, so I disproved my own point there. How about that? That's good podcasting right there, Justin.
There it is.
Bring up something and then you don't say it at all. I love it.
Keep yourself in check.
I also will mention real quick that just of this preseason list, Bearcats play only 2 of the top 5 SP Plus teams, and they get all of the teams 7 through 14 except for themselves on the schedule. So, I mean, there can still be some optimism for this year. And again, actually asked this question to Justin Williams in his mailbag recently about which position group has the most questions going into spring practice. Is it the offensive line? Is it wide receiver? Or is it, I think I said defensive back, or is it quarterback? And he said offensive line. So, there is obviously, it is going to be a big talking point through the year, but I don't know. Saddy daddy all the way. Saddy daddy all the way. Let's go. Let's go.
Saturdays are for the boys, for the Bearcats. With all of that now on the board, we are returning a segment, and this is we're going to try to make this a weekly thing now because we used to do it, and we've realized there's a bit of a gap there in the Bearcats world. Do any of you know what's going on with track and field, swimming, women's basketball, tennis, lacrosse, baseball, all of that? Maybe not. I assume probably not. We're going to give it to you in less than 2 minutes and 20 seconds because that's what a free Twitter account does. Screw you, Elon Musk. I'm not paying for Twitter Blue.
No, never.
Let's go. Let's go, baby.
All right. Are we ready to go here? Welcome back to the weekly sports wrap up. Okay. Taylor Boyer broke a UC high jump record held by my friend Loretta Blount last weekend in the Music City Challenge and is now the top high jumper in the conference and 3rd in the country. Tyler Worth recently ran a sub 4-minute mile, setting a new school record. Fred Mudani was recently named AAC Field Athlete of the Week after setting a new school record of 20.5 meters in shot put, which he had already set 2 times previously this year, as well as the France indoor record, and is 2nd in the nation now. Next meet Saturday in South Bend, Indiana. Justin, take us to the pool.
Swimming. Did you know that there are only 2 men's swimming teams in the American Athletic Conference? The 200-meter medley relay team of Grace Gavin, Jaylee Cry, Megan Fleury, and Kaylee Nagel broke the school record Wednesday with a time of 1:39:59. Conference meet continues until Saturday.
Women's basketball. The women have won 2 of their last 4 games on the road at Tulane and Temple, but a rough season overall for the Bearcats at 9-16 on the year. Justin, let's take it to the tennis court.
Tennis, hosting Cleveland State this weekend. The season has not yet started, but they have time to get back and they're ready for conference play as the weather warms up. Thankfully, it's been feeling a little bit better.
Now we head to the lacrosse pitch. The team started the season this last weekend 2-0 with 2 wins over Kent State 14-7 and Gardner Webb 20-9. Ava Geller had 6 goals in the game against Gardner Webb, and she won AAC Midfielder of the Week. And Cameron Callahan had 8 goals and 5 assists and combined in the games, and she won AAC Freshman of the Week. The
Nice.
Lacrosse Bearcats host Robert Morris and Marquette at Nippert this weekend with a chance to have their best program start in program history at 4-0. And there is your Bearcats sports wrap up. Just a reminder that you can find all of these schedules and events on ESPN Plus or at gobearcats.com. And if they're at home, you can go to all these games except for women's basketball and baseball for free. So definitely go out there and support our Bearcats in every sport whenever you can.
Now to the one that I guess we're going to start dubbing as our third sport. We have ebbs and flows with the seasons. What we've tended to do is ride football, ride basketball, March Madness, and see you in August. But we're going to try to add a little bit more here as the seasons go on and try to stay a little bit more consistent. So again, hopefully you guys can or will enjoy having the weekly rundown, and it'll make it worthwhile because it does take some time to research, but also I think it's a nice little packet of information that just lets you know what's going on around the Bearcats program. But baseball, we are going to try to start covering baseball weekly as much as we can. It might tailor out towards bi-weekly with our usual off-season flow, which hopefully our off-season flow is still going to stick at 2 once every other week. It should be pretty consistent. But on baseball, we have a new scoreboard. Where did that new scoreboard come from, Steve? Because you told me where the old one came from.
I think we bought this one brand new, baby. Big 12 money already paying off. So the old one I was telling Justin is from the old Nippert Stadium scoreboard, which I think was from about 2007. And you could tell it was pretty old because there was a lot of pixels that were broken and just squares that just didn't show up anymore. It had been long overdue for a new update for the baseball video board, and now it's there and it's live and it's beautiful.
Yeah, we're going to be watching crispy HD games now. It's going to be possible. Hoping that we have some pretty consistent and good ESPN broadcasts, because there will be if I remember the number correctly, I think 40 games broadcasted on ESPN Plus this year, which is good because I pay for ESPN Plus, like many Bearcats fans every year, and get about 3 or 4 basketball games. And it just doesn't feel worthy now, whatever, $12.99 or whatever it is a month. There'll be some payoff. So hold on to your subscriptions because you can watch some more Bearcats coming up here soon.
Yeah, definitely. And I think this was something that, Phil brought up on the 1012 podcast that we joined. We don't really have a third sport, like you said, Justin. And I would definitely with our power, with our reach, I would love to promote more sports and see if we can get more people to be following the Bearcats in sports that are not football and men's basketball, because there's a lot of great stuff going on campus that some people just might not know about. So if we can just play a little part in bringing that to people, I'm really happy to. Let's talk about baseball a little bit. So I think there was a big push behind the Bearcats last spring as the MLB lockout was ongoing, and the fact that after the lockout started, the Reds decided to just sell off and just have a massive fire sale. So shout out to the Arrested Development there. And the season went well. I think I don't have their record up in front of me. Only thing I really remember is that we lost to Xavier like 4 times last year. So if we could get that figured out, that would be great.
Speaking of losing to Xavier 4 times.
Yeah, I mean, I know.
We're not going there.
They've broken us as a fan base in all sports. Yeah. Anyway,
except hockey.
I am really. That's right. Yeah, we got that sweep over them. Showed them who's better on the ice.
Wait, did we not add hockey to the rundown? We need to make sure hockey's going to have to be in there consistently too. There we go.
See, well, I'm rusty, Justin. I'm rusty.
Me too. Me too.
I gotta catch up. So, by the way, yeah, isn't that interesting? Did you know there's only 2 swimming teams in the men's AAC?
That's actually crazy. Like, considering that
men's swimming teams. Yeah.
Yeah, I would think it's more, but it's probably a Title IX thing too.
I mean, yeah, certainly. I think it is, but it's just, I don't know. To me, that was crazy to just learn that, And then last night, or the other night when I was going through the research, like, just for example, Iowa State ended their baseball program in like 2001, which to me is like kind of crazy, So, and like, just coming up in with the new teams that are going to the American, there's only going to be like 3 men's swimming and diving teams in the whole league. And I guess SMU just wins every year. But it is kind of funny though that in the press releases every year, they say that like every day I've been looking, they say, oh yeah, I'm sorry. There will only be 2 members of the men's swimming AAC, as Florida Atlantic will take Cincinnati's spot when they join this summer. Okay. All right. We've talked a lot about swimming. I'd like to talk about
basketball, baseball. Knocking the cover off something here.
That's the sport. So maybe we should have our guy Andy Nagel on, Justin. He's the director of operations for the baseball team, and he is the color commentator for all of the home games. So maybe we can work that out and have him on at some point. So, but I want to go over the baseball real quick. They look to prove the haters wrong, as they were picked to finish next to last in the conference by the coaches, and they have also been projected to finish 6th by Baseball America and 7th by D1 Baseball. There's not a lot of people that are entirely high on the Bearcats this year, but they proved a lot of doubters wrong just a few years ago in 2019. And I still want that statue of Scott Guggens built on campus. So once we figure that out, let's get on that. UC first priority, nothing else. So after last season, the Bearcats did lose Cincinnati hometown kid and 4-year starter Griffin Merritt, who was the conference player of the year last year, to the transfer portal. He is now playing for Tennessee, who was pretty dang good last year and looks to be pretty good again in baseball this year. But they returned preseason all AAC infielder Ryan Nicholson and top draft prospect Cole Harding, who you might remember from his walk-off homer against those Ohio State Buckeyes. So that was a pretty good memory to have, to see like those guys to have that memory of like, that big walk-off. And for whatever reason, that game was just streaming on GoBearcats.com. It wasn't on ESPN Plus. So like we got like a very grainy video of the ball going over the fence, which I think you clipped, by the way. So shout out Justin for that. But I just want to more talk about, like Justin, did you get a chance to go to any baseball games as a student on campus?
I went to a handful, not enough to count on more than one hand, but a handful nonetheless.
Yeah.
And I think I'd say I think the experience is definitely fun. I think it was more fun when we were able to arrange the cheap beer nights and get that going.
That's right.
This is a quick tangent on the Goog statue. I really think it needs to be, if we build that, it would be so good for the program. Set it up like Fountain Square, have both the hands out to the sides, and have beer taps coming out. And you pay, and then you walk up and you put your tall boy under there, your tall boy cup, and it fills it up, and then you walk into the stadium. I think it's a brilliant idea. You honor Googs, and at the same time you get your beers and you go chill in the stands. Like, I don't know.
That's a great idea.
We need something more interactive with the baseball program.
Yeah. Or we just build that outfield student section I've been wanting for years. So one day our baseball team will listen to our ideas. But until then, we can just talk about.
You can afford to remove the squirrel's nest that is that tiny little gap between the walkway between 5th, 3rd, and Shakely. That little gap that like people shortcut to get on to Shakely. Just build bleachers there. I think it'd be worth it.
You can put the statue out there and just have students just come up whenever,
Yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. Anything that is similar to Ole Miss, I definitely want to steal that idea and bring it to Cincinnati because I think that sounds like a lot of fun. But I was able to go to a few baseball games just during the day, and then like you mentioned, we did organize that dollar beer night, and I asked our buddy Joel this week who was the guy that he was yelling at, and he remembered plain as day, responded right away. He's like, his name was Skylar, because he kept yelling at him in a Brooklyn accent, hey, Skylar, you tie
Yeah.
your shoes wrong? Why you keep looking at them? And so
I remember that.
that was, yeah. So that was a lot of fun. But I would definitely advise to any students who are listening or anybody who maybe doesn't work like a 9 to 5 job, or somebody who wants to bring their laptop to the ballpark and work from there. Definitely do it, man. It's great. It's such a fun
Yeah.
atmosphere. Like, just as a student, you get to go to the games free. So, you just walk in and sit down and enjoy like 5 good innings of baseball, because the games go pretty quick in college baseball. Like there's not much waiting around, and like they're exciting. They steal bases, they hit doubles. It's not just home runs and strikeouts. Like it's a lot of fun, and it's a great product. And I got to tell you what, one of the best sport sounds in all the sports is the ping of that aluminum bat, dude. Like it's, especially the Eastons. I don't know what it is, but the Eastons sound way better than all the other bats. But I also think that the Bearcats have possibly the best uniform of any Cincinnati Bearcats sports team, with that Koufax throwback uniform. That is slick. So
that's straight from the source here, folks, at UC Uniforms.
Yeah, that's just one man's opinion, but
I could go and grab that out of my closet right now.
There you go. Nice. But I would definitely just advise, like, just go out and enjoy some baseball this year, like heckle the other guys, be nice, but you can heckle them a little bit, just once you get them to laugh, Justin, that's when that they're kind of in on it too. You're not just like yelling at them like about how their families suck or something. Like just do something funny, like the shoes we mentioned, or something, I don't know, like just goofy. But I do like want to commend all the fans. There was a lot of games last year where, UC had like attendance records for games, because there was a lot of people that were coming out, and it was like weeknights. And I think they did some things to pair with students and other local groups. And I do think they got some momentum off of the Reds just deciding not to compete last year. And this year, it looks like they're not going to compete either. So definitely like go support the Bearcats baseball team, man. They should be fun. And, even if they're not good, baseball is such a great sport to just sit outside and enjoy, especially in the springtime in Cincinnati, when you've been locked up in your house for about like 4 solid months, and you just want to go enjoy a 55-degree weather in some shorts. Go to a Bearcats baseball game.
Absolutely. Gotta make sure you fill up the tall boys too. It's the most, I firmly believe it is the best beer drinking sport there is. There's nothing that matches it. Basketball,
100%.
It's not the right environment. Football, it feels great, but there's nothing like just sipping on a beer, kicking back, feet up, watching a baseball game. And if you're doing that, it should be for the Bearcats. I possibly hot take here. Don't waste your money on the Reds. Don't do it. Steve probably disagree with me, but he might agree with me too. Just don't waste your money on the Reds. This organization has just come to prove that they do not give a flying shit about what anybody thinks of them. And until they prove otherwise, I will not be supporting that. I will not be supporting that. I'll probably go to one game and I'll watch out of spite. But it hurts, man.
Also, Bearcats baseball tickets are a lot cheaper than Reds tickets. Like you could probably get one nice seat at a Reds game for $50. You can buy season tickets for that rate to the baseball Bearcats. So, think about where your money's going, people. Do you want to support that team downtown, or do you want to support your local friendly Bearcats? So just think about where your money's going.
Think about it. It goes a much farther way. I'm telling you. And the beers are cheaper too.
That's right. That is right.
That's the take home there. Last point that we have here. Shout out Brian Cook, and of course shout out Travis Kelce, and of course shout out Jason Kelce too. The Chiefs did it. They won the Super Bowl, and 2 Bearcats got rings. Technically, I think there's 3 on the I think that we have another player on their practice roster too, but
I don't think that's true. I think Reddit college football put out that graphic, and there was like 4 C-Paws on there, and I went and looked on the practice squad. No, there's not another one. But
okay, well then that's fine. So there's 2 Bearcats that got a ring, because I was like, I don't know who they would be, but I saw the same thing, and I was just kind of running with it. But yeah, congratulations to them. It's great to see Travis again win again, and it's it hurts the way that it comes, but I'd rather see a Bearcat succeed and watch apathetically than watch apathetically and not see any Bearcats in the Super Bowl. So there's that.
I was definitely playing both sides so I could come out on top by cheering for the Bearcats in the Super Bowl and not the Eagles or the Chiefs. So, but I do want to say though, like Justin, now that we're entering like a P5 conference, it's okay to not want to just root for the Big 12 just because it's the Big 12. Like I heard a guy at the we were at a restaurant to watch like the first half of the Super Bowl, and I heard a guy who was a Broncos fan say, "Oh yeah, it would make the AFC West and the AFC look good." I was like, can we not? You don't. I mean, NFL is a completely different sport. You really don't have to do that in the NFL. But
Right.
I'm just not the biggest fan of doing that for college. And although I will admit, like it was pretty cool to see TCU get all the way, like to the national championship. But you don't necessarily have to be wearing like TCU gear or something if they were to make it, or if Kansas were to make it to the national championship when we joined. But because I think that all that SEC chanting is kind of like annoying, but
Right.
I did like, so that a tangent that I shouldn't have gone on. But anyway, shout out, like you said, Travis Kelce, somehow always open, never like covered. You can't guard him. He's always open, and he scored another dang touchdown. So shout out to him.
Gosh dang touchdown.
Another gosh dang touchdown. And then Brian Cook, he definitely played well when called upon. So the end of that game was kind of boring, though. Like I will say, like it was just like it should have given the Eagles another
Scripted.
chance. But,
That's going to come through really crispy.
Spin Zone, is this Bearcats season scripted? Are they just trying to hold us down so that the script writers can come back up with a better script next year and just say, how did this team go from horrible in the American to like winning the Big 12 right away? And then
Luke Fickell, was that part of the script? Did you read the script and have to get on a plane and leave? Was that part of the script, or did he read? You know what it is? Okay, here it is. This is our tinfoil hat theory that will close us out for the night. Luke Fickell read the script, and he decided that he no longer wanted to be part of the Bearcats because he would not be part of a team that'd be put down. So he went to the Big 10 to go to Wisconsin to be part of a team that would definitely be put down because they always suck at the end of the year. That's all I have to say.
Please play non-licensed conspiracy music under that. Like that definitely deserves it.
Is
that is X-Files. I think that is very copyrighted.
But I know, but if I'm saying, oh my God, whoa, Zoom just said playing music ? Set up professional audio in audio settings. Whoa. Well, we're still not going to get sued because it was my voice. That's mine right there. So anyways, thank you guys for tuning in this week. It's been a pleasure having you all listen, hopefully watching as well. If you're not, make sure to check out YouTube because we are consistently putting up our video episodes on YouTube. Again, you can find us on Spotify, Apple Pods, whatever other platform you listen on. Make sure to follow us at Viva La Cats Pod if you are not already. Thanks for tuning in. This has been Viva La Cats. Go watch some Bearcats basketball. Watch that dub against UCF. Go watch some Bearcats baseball and support your local teams here, folks.
Go Bearcats.
Go Bearcats.